What is up, diehards? Wes Monell in the building for AWOL Sports with Paul Durfee, Dill Monell, Leo Holmes. We're hanging out talking NBA. We got the playoffs. We got some great players to talk about. Let's get straight to it. Check these out, guys. I know you guys already know this. There's always going to be debate. There's always going to be he should have or he shouldn't have and all that. Well, for this season, these are your award winners. Joe Kick wins back. It's back to back, right? MVPs for him?
Joker got back to back.
Back to back. Let's start there, man. That's where we're starting over there in Philly right here. Paul Jokic, statistically ranked the most efficient player in the game, posted 27, 14, and 8 a night, finished top 10 in points, rebounds, and assists. Why should it have been Joel Embiid instead of him?
Well, obviously, if you want to go like pure analytics, you know, he's a good choice for MVP, but he's also another year where the second round was starting and he's sitting at home watching while the other MVP candidates are still in the playoffs. So, but I don't know, for me, the biggest thing, I get the argument that he didn't have like Michael Porter and Jamal Murray this year, and he was kind of asked to do more. And, you know, their record was good, but, you know, they're in, you know, the bottom part of the West isn't very good either. You can beat up on those guys. But I mean, for me, the biggest thing for Embiid is, I guess when you use that talent argument, you could say, oh, well, he had James Harden, but the first half of the year, he didn't have Ben Simmons because he was sitting out, and they didn't have James Harden. He was carrying a team with Tobias Harris basically as the number 2 scorer for the first half of the season, and they were still top 4 in the East. And then you got Tyrese. Luckily, Tyrese Maxey stepped up this year, but you're basically asking that guy who was basically a bench player and barely played in the playoffs last year, and now you're asking him to become, and luckily he stepped up, but step up and be like a second or third option. And then Harden comes, and you know, he's good. He's making other people better. He's distributing, but obviously anyone who watches that could tell that dude can't score anymore. His hope is that he raises his arms every time he drives to the hole and hope the refs bail him out, which, you know, he still gets those calls. He still gets those calls sometimes because he's James Harden. But
resting on those damn laurels, bro.
You could tell that it was still Embiid's team, and he had to carry the scoring load pretty much every night because James just couldn't get it done, you know, as far as scoring goes. So I think the biggest argument for Jokic that people use is though that he didn't have the help, but I don't feel like the Sixers roster was that much better. They don't have a bench, you know, they don't have anything like that. And then the other thing is Embiid's a top defensive player every year. He impacts the game big time on the defensive end and alters shots and, you know, switches on guards and handles his own. And Jokic is a liability on defense. Let's just put it that way, you know? So I think, I don't know, I don't get too into it. You know, it's an MVP award. I think the awards are kind of dumb, you know, whatever, but that's my take on it.
Hey, that's something we absolutely agree on the surface, and all sports awards are because look at who votes, right?
Most of the voters never played basketball in their life.
So I get it. A little bit is a popularity contest with the media. I totally understand that, man. I get it. Leo, should it have been the Joker?
I say yes. And one of the biggest reasons is when you look at MVP, especially in recent years, you're talking about an offensive award. Like just call a spade a spade. You could basically break it down. If this was NFL, this wouldn't be MVP. This would be Offensive Player of the Year. And it's your team having a solid record and your offensive statistics equating to a certain amount. So it doesn't matter how great your defense is. You're not going to get Marcus Smart the Defensive Player of the Year in the MVP voting. It's not going to happen. Celtics can have the best record in the league every year. It's not going to happen. For Joker, I mean, analytics, PER, highest ever. So whenever you sit there and go, someone has the greatest or the highest of something ever that's in a positive light, it's always going to lift up. And his effect on the team, I mean, it's undisputable. I get what you're saying, Paul, in regards to, him playing without his top two players and who you guys had. And I mean, it's playing with who's there, of course. Availability is availability. There's nothing you can say about that. But in the same light, if Embiid didn't have Tobias Harris and Maxey, what would his numbers have looked like? And that's the argument that I would put up in reference to Joker, because I mean, his next two best players weren't there for the majority of the year. So if I take out your top two, regardless of how you look at those top two in comparison to who the other person had, I don't think Embiid has the season he had, and his numbers look the same as what they look like if Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey weren't there. So for me, Joker won it. Based on what they look at for that award, congratulations, he deserved it.
Paul, any retaliation to that? Or are you good?
I mean, I don't know. I guess you can say what you want about Denver's supporting cast without those two guys, but I mean, for me, the Sixers without Max, before the Harden trade, the Sixers without Maxey and Tobias are the rest of the team is a G League team. There's a huge drop off after those two guys, as far as like from an offensive perspective goes. But I mean,
I got you.
But yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not saying Jokic isn't deserving. Like what he did was amazing. But I gotta, give a little argument for my guy Embiid. But it is what it is.
Hey, I'll say this. Remember, this is a regular season award, and the guys that really matter, they stopped caring about this a long time ago. they trying to get that postseason gold. That's what they giving a damn about. Because as great as it is, look at the four names listed up on that board. How many still playing? It's only one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. MVP Jokic, Dill. Jokic. What's your take?
Yeah, just, to touch on what everybody else has been mentioning so far. Yeah, it's kind of hard to say that any of these three finalists were undeserving as far as, how the vote shook out, right? It's just tough. It's awesome to see Joker get a back-to-back. I think, again, he's deserving of it. I kind of more err on the side what Paul was mentioning. My personal pick would have been Joel Embiid because of that drop-off, right? I think what I guess hurt him in that regard was, Maxey and Harris still had their, games here and there. And so it made it look like he had probably a little more consistent help than, what Joker was able to get throughout the course of the season. So yeah, I'd say that probably hurts his case in that regard. But Joel still was able to come out with the same amount of wins as Giannis as well, which was still more wins than, what Joker was able to get out in the West, like he said. Again, both sides were, competitive, but I think we can all admit that bottom part of the West probably wasn't as accustomed, right? That most people were used to as, how people were battling out in the West. So again, no shade at Joker. Everyone's stats have been off the chart this year. So it's hard to argue. But again, I kind of agree with the sentiment that some of the awards and the voting is probably not ideal at this point in the process, but I'm not sure what they can do to actually change it right now to change, some diehards fans' minds as far as how that process is actually determined moving forward.
And something I haven't.
One thing.
Go ahead, Lou.
Oh, I agree. One thing they can do is announce it at the end of the regular season. Stop waiting until the postseason continues, and then you're seeing these other things. Because it don't help when Joel Embiid goes in the first round and dominates an entire team, and then you sit there and walk away and go, hey, he ain't the MVP. Really? Because what I just saw was a dude take a team that was the fifth seed and say, you sit down, you go to that table, and you go home. That was sitting there telling Drake, hey, cool, that's cool. Yeah, you ain't winning. Congratulations. I'll come to the pool party next week, but you ain't winning this game.
And he was playing with the 24-hour fitness version of James Harden, apparently, according to Paul. So.
Yeah, while Jokic is getting his MVP trophy in Serbia, like on a farm with a bunch of sheep. Did you? It's like
Yeah, on the horses. Yeah,
while everyone else is still playing and he's getting his award,
yeah.
on a
So
farm, whatever.
that's a good one, Leo. That's definitely a, a thing they should absolutely implement right away.
Y'all are funny, man. Look, I think they were both deserving. I'm a fan of this. It's not popular, but it happened in the NFL. Peyton Manning, Steve McNair, they both won co-MVP for a year. If it's close, like this was close, I don't think this was decisive by any means. I just don't. Why not? Happened one time. Has it ever happened?
In the NBA.
Do you guys know if it's ever happened? Because I don't think it ever has in the NBA co-MVPs.
I believe it happened once. I know they had it with Rookie of the Year one time. I believe with MVP one time it did happen, but no, don't do that. Because you open up that Pandora's box, you know what you're putting right behind it? Giannis to go, hey, what's up? MVP, Finals MVP, NBA champion, just led my team to the same record. If you're doing two, guess what? Let's make it a three-peat. We don't need to do that. Let's cut the participation award.
Nah, man. I want to see it one time in the league where I see it, man, because Steve McNair was a baller, and we know what Peyton Manning became out to be, man. But that year, if you watch, they were both deserving of it, just like these dudes were, in my opinion. But yeah, man, there's some other awards. Not all are listed here, but you see Ja Morant, Most Improved, Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year, Scotty Barnes, Rookie of the Year, Tyler Herro, Sixth Man of the Year, Monty Williams, Coach of the Year. Dill, do you have a problem with any of these awards here?
My biggest gripe is just the Ja Morant, most improved player. As we probably all had a discussion at one point off air here, I don't see what the criteria is for this award, right? Just kind of like we're arguing for the MVP. How do you actually make that distinction? Who is the best player in the league when they're all putting up, crazy metrics and advanced stats, right? So it's hard to sort through all that. And again, the voting process, there's no exact criteria. So how does he fit in this category versus being an MVP candidate? Where does he draw that line versus some other players that maybe took that extra step in their game and they're not getting recognized on this level? Again, I don't expect them to win the award, but they should be able to at least be in the top 3 to 5 finalists. Some of those guys, maybe some even guys on his own team, right, deserve kind of the Most Improved award over him. That's not a shot at Ja. I think he has the chance to be a star right now, maybe. But again, that's my biggest problem. I don't have a big deal with him winning an award because I think he's deserving of, being one of these awards in the running every year. But Most Improved, I just had a problem with that.
So let me pose it to you, Leo and Paul, man, because here, I'll be honest. I'm looking at the stats right now. Stats ain't everything. I know the Grizz went 20-5 without him and all that. I respect it. All I'm doing is I'm just compartmentalizing Ja Morant last season to this season. That's all I'm doing right now. I see that he improved his points by 8 per game.
8. Yep.
I see that he improved his shooting by 5%, his 3-point shooting by 4%, his free throw shooting by 4%, and his rebounds by almost 2, with the only thing really going down his assists by half a game. Based off his last season to this season alone, Leo, is that worthy to win this award based off his last season to this season, excluding all the other factors?
Ja Morant should not have won Most Improved Player. Simply put, if you're going to give it to a Grizzly, it should have went to Bane. It should have been a 2-man race at this point between Bane and between Jordan Poole.
Hey,
the same way if you look at that.
Don't forget about Maxey,
Maxey, I got to see it for a whole season. He definitely showed his ability. I mean, Kentucky stand up. The boy was doing his thing. But, I mean, you pull up the stats, you can run it out for Desmond Bane. He went up 9 points a game exactly. He made more field goals. His field goals went up by 3.5 a game. Field goal attempts, 7 a game. So he's shooting 50% on the extra field goals he's shooting. 3-point makes went up 1.3 a game on 2.9 increase. 3-point percentage increase. Free throws, he's making more, shooting at a 90% clip. that's a guy that's a most improved player. Like, I understand in our heads, we've kind of been conditioned most improved is somebody that's not that good, that becomes pretty good. Like, yes, we should be able to look at people that aren't the greatest and transit
over. But at the end of the day, I gotta go with what's out there. And what's out there at this point is guys who weren't that good that became better. Julius Randle got most improved player because he was not that good of a player and became an all-star caliber player. And he's the one who tried to start that trend. It shouldn't just be this. It should be me being, this and now becoming a superstar. It's not. It's you barely play or you weren't playing, and now you play consistent minutes and you make an impact. John Morant left the most improved player at his teammate Desmond Bane's house. That tells you what he felt about him receiving that award. That's respect to your teammate, but that's, I don't need this thing. I didn't deserve this thing. Why did you give this to me? I know somebody else that deserves this.
Oh,
No, yeah, that's a great point. No, I agree. It's just kind of like the concept, however they're viewed in the league. Like, everyone kind of was like, oh, John Morant's already really good, even though, yeah, his all his averages went up and everything like that. But it's kind of like, because it was so expected, I guess it was just surprising to see him in there, even though, like, just purely based on stats, if you take everything else out of it, you can see why. You can make the argument why he would be in there, but yeah, I agree with Leo that that I think Bane, Poole, and then I'll throw in Maxey just as a third. I think those three guys were kind of like more the unexpected types that really like surprised people and really took their game to another level that no one really saw coming or really expected. So yeah, I agree. The only other thing I'll throw out is I think the six-man award is stupid because Tyler Hero plays like 36 minutes every night anyways. It's like, okay, you want to say he's not a starter because he doesn't play the first 5 minutes of the game and he comes out and plays the rest of the half, like, whatever. It's like six-man bench. Like, I don't know, I think that's just kind of dumb. And then I hated all the announcers during the Heat Sixers series. Oh, well, the Heat have 40 bench points compared to the Sixers 10. I was like, well, fucking Hero has like 25 of those. Like, it's so stupid, like, to compare bench points when you're talking about Miami. So whatever. But anyways, that's all I got.
Hey, that's Jordan Poole. That's Jordan Poole, though. You compare bench points there.
Yeah.
you know what? That's a really interesting point, though. Like, I guess to an extent there has to be a little bit more regulations to that.
I'm not saying that Hero didn't deserve the six-man award. I just think having a six-man award is dumb because they're playing starters minutes anyways.
And that's generally what it is. I mean, you look at Lou Williams. Yeah. Look at Jamal Crawford.
Yeah.
Like, you're talking about guys that will close out every game. If there's a big bucket to be had, they're involved in it some way, somehow for that team. They're, of course, going to be the guys to get a six-man of the year. So I completely understand and feel you on that one of, should there be some criteria? Maybe.
Like a minutes limit or something. Like,
that's tough, though.
Where
do you draw that line?
Like, you're gonna make issues for the whole franchise.
Yeah.
Can of worms everywhere, man. Can't change shit.
Next year they're gonna start. They're gonna leave Joel Embiid on the bench and then bring him out a minute into the game. So they can win the six-man of the year award.
Most improved.
Oh man.
But no, I honestly, for most improved, like, nothing against John Morant. We named a couple of guys. We named Bane. We named Poole. We named Maxey. Max Strus. Could anybody here tell me anything about Max Strus last year? No, you had no idea who he is. Dude's a starter for a possible NBA Finals team. Like, those are players that are most improved. Miss me with this. Well, he won Rookie of the Year. He was in the MVP voting. He's an all-star. You're not most improved, bro. Go sit your little happy ass down.
Hey, also, yeah, that's a good point on Strus. also Gabe Vincent. He had to play a lot this year without Lowry, and he stepped up big out of nowhere too. He was undrafted. He was in the G League for a couple of years, and now he's starting for the #1 seed.
And Diego stand up.
So it's just and then Miami, like Wes, we were talking about before about how you were contemplating picking Miami. I think they do a really good job of developing talent out of nowhere. Like you got Strus and Vincent and 2 of their starting 5 who were undrafted, so it's crazy.
They had like 6 or 7 players total on their roster right now that were undrafted, I think.
Yeah, it's either second round or undrafted, and basically you almost not even look to be in the league at that point. So
exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of love to Miami, well deserved, man. They're gonna need those underdogs to pull them through as an underdog, man. But yeah, are y'all cool with Monty Williams being coach of the year and with Scotty Barnes winning Roy?
Hey, Dill, what's up, man?
You know who I was looking at.
Absolutely. So I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely a little upset when it wasn't Cade. It had nothing to do with who actually won the award. But at the end of the day, I understand because I was actually a big Scotty Barnes fan. So I was just excited for him, individually just having that success. And I also happen to be a fan of the Raptors. So I think it's a good organization. And I think he was well deserving of the award. I think Edwin Mobley was as well. Again, I actually projected Mobley to actually win. So I was surprised Barnes got that much love from the voters. So again, I have no idea what these criteria are for any of these awards now. So I'm very confused because it felt like Mobley was going to be the consensus pick. So that was the most surprising one, maybe besides the defensive player of the year, at least in my opinion. But Monty, I think he was well deserving of the award. So again, it's a regular season award, right? He won the most games, and not only just because of that, I think he's a great coach. He can relate and get the best out of his guys. And obviously they had a tough 7-game series. We all know what happened, but that doesn't throw away what you accomplished throughout the entirety of the season. But it definitely stings. It doesn't end the way that everybody wanted it to there.
Paul, Leo, you guys good with the rest of the awards? Any real pushback on anything?
I'm happy Marcus Smart won Defensive Player of the Year. It's about time you give it to another guard, man. The glove was the last guard to win Defensive Player of the Year. And at some point, you got to realize, hey, people under 6'5" know how to play defense too, okay? Like, stand up for the little man. So let's go.
Let's go. I'm with that.
You don't think your boy Rudy Gobert should win it?
That's all he does well,
my
man.
boy, I thought you was talking about the runner-up, Mikal Bridges. I mean, he definitely gonna get one in his time. Man, we leave Rudy alone. Rudy, we can have a conversation another day. Is Rudy gonna be an actual Hall of Famer? That's the conversation we can have for Rudy, but we'll put that to the side. That's the kids' table at Thanksgiving, dog. He ain't coming to big boys meals.
I'm still mad Mikal Bridges isn't on the Sixers.
Yeah.
Bruh. No, you know who's still mad he ain't on the Sixers? His mama.
Yeah.
When they made that trade, because his mama works for the Sixers. When they made
and he went to Villanova.
Yeah.
Yep. The whole lot. Bro, Villanova can beat their chest in. There's only, I believe, 4 players in the league, might actually be 5 now, with 2 national championships that are in the NBA at this time.
Wow.
All of them except for 1 are from Villanova. Horford is the only one that ain't from Villanova. He's part of the back-to-back Florida title.
Damn.
That's a stat, bro. I love that.
So, yeah, Villanova, ridiculous. And Bridges, yeah, he should have been a Sixer. Like, there is no reason they should have made that trade. I feel bad.
We got Zaire Smith.
Zaire Smith. Oh, that's who it was.
Sorry.
Man. Well, eye test for me, Rookie of the Year. I like Cade. I just thought he looked better. That's what it came down to for me. So do I have any real hairs to split on that? Nah, man. Scotty Barnes balled, Jalen Green balled, Evan Mobley. They all balled. It's a good class. I mean, here. Look at this class, man. All rookie first team, all rookie second team. A lot of people, I was on Twitter, man. A lot of people think this is going to be an all-time class. I don't know about you guys and your perspective, but on paper, after year 1, pretty impressive class in my book. So do you guys have any problems with anyone on the second team that should be on the first team, or anybody you don't see here on the pictured at all?
No, I mean everybody there, I definitely say earned it. I'll say no on that all-time class. Just because they got points, they ain't telling me nothing. We at a time where offense is what everything is. That's where money's at. So you touch a guy, it's a foul. You could be looking at an all-time scoring class at one point that you go, man, all these dudes ended up in the top 50, top 100 of scoring in the NBA. And they now, near one of them made a conference finals of that group.
Man. Yeah, that's tough. I don't really have gripes. I think they hit it on the head as far as the, all rookie first team, second team. I know there's a big Twitter community that loves Josh Giddey. I know OKC is excited about him. So little shout out to Josh. I know he's a good player and continue to develop. And that's kind of a cool core with him and Shea out there. So
I got a question. Based on that, let's not even go on the first team. You shout out Giddey on that. So Dill, we'll start it off with you. Who's somebody on the second team that you think 5-10 years from now, we talking about, man, that dude's a factor? It could be because of his scoring paralysis. It could be because of his defense overall. Like, who's one of those dudes on that second team that you just look at and you're like, he gonna be a problem?
I'll stick with my boy Giddey. Honestly, I love the potential from him. Obviously, just like a lot of people coming into the draft, but I think because of the plethora of ammunition that they have to continue to get the team better as well around him is going to allow him to flourish as well and kind of grow into his own and not have to rush his process. I don't know if OKC's on a timeline as far as when they actually want to start winning. So I think they'll be patient and allow him to actually develop. And I think that'll benefit him on an individual level. So however their team shapes out, I think he's put it in a very good position at this point.
Huh?
And I really like Herbert Jones. The way he started the year versus how he got so much better throughout the year. Talk about what's going to be a problem for the next 10 years. That dude's defense is ridiculous. His length. He has the best chance to maybe become a Mikal Bridges type of player from this class. I think if he continues to develop his shot, he's not quite there yet with the offense, but you saw improvements with his three-point shooting. If he can develop a little bit more offensively, I feel like he's pretty much almost there on the defensive side. So I just feel like just based on where the league is now as far as switchability and playing defense, I think he has the best chance to have a really long career and be a really big factor and a big problem for the league.
I like that, man. I think if Zion can get right, they got some building blocks there. Really. Herb Jones is pretty cool. I didn't know much about him. He can lock up, dude. I mean, shoot, you even see that? I didn't even notice he's the only guy with steals on his statistics out of all these dudes. And yeah, I know what I get it. Steals, that could be a whatever stat. Totally get it. But I think he backs that number up legitimately, not just the number of a guard kind of just leaking out and maybe getting lucky.
He's got like a 10-foot wingspan, man. Dude's got crazy length.
6'8". Like, keep that. He a guard, but he's 6'8".
And I don't know what his wingspan is, but it's probably over 7 feet.
Oh yeah, gotta be. His mindset, though, it speaks volumes, because they were talking about it during our series. He was ready to quote unquote redshirt this year. When he got drafted, he was like, hey, I get it. I'm going to the G League. I'm gonna develop myself, get better. Year 2, I'm gonna be ready to rumble. He was just too good for them to leave on the bench. But that's a guy I'll go to war with. Like, he's coming in and saying, I'm ready to get better to earn my minutes. I don't deserve anything. I'm gonna prove everything. So yeah, I like that one.
I love that mentality, man. Something that Dill mentioned, he was all over Giddey earlier. So was Twitter. No joke, man. I like to see people's opinions because I want to see like where the majority lie on some things, and maybe learn a few nuggets there that someone shares because they're a diehard of that specific team that I'm not, so, but it wasn't just OKC fans, man. So many people on Twitter were pissed off Giddey didn't make the first team over Jalen Green. I was like, that's an interesting person to pick. You know, Jalen's pretty good, man, but he was getting a lot of heat on Twitter, man, and Giddey was getting a lot of love. Could you guys see that swap right there? Or do you think that's a legitimate gripe, or you think, they're rookies, whatever, they're both on a rookie team, move on?
I think it's a combination, honestly. I'm like, it shouldn't really, cry over this. It's rookie teams. It's a cool thing to put on your accolade list, but I'm sure most of these guys won't even care, throughout the course of their career there.
Okay.
I agree with there, and I say on the rookie teams, it's pretty much you got to knock them off. Like you look at the guys on the first team, that's what, 4 out of the top 5 picks. You had to go knock them off the pedestal. You just don't walk in and say, hey, well, my stats were kind of close. Like you have a great year. That don't mean you about to go push Joker or Embiid or Giannis out the way. You got to show that you're able to do better. So Giddey had a nice season and he had a few really good games, but nah, I'm like, you didn't knock him off. And that's what you got to do, in my opinion.
And I think he missed the last month and a half of the season with some injuries. So
he did. I mean, they all miss games, but yeah, touche, Leo. And then one quick note on the second team, I saw a lot of people, they were pissed off that Davion Mitchell and Jonathan Kuminga didn't even make it. Is there an argument to be had for either of them? And if so, who's off the second team?
So nobody.
Yeah.
Right?
Donovan Mitchell was not consistent. He did not look like Baylor Mitchell. Like maybe he needs to move back to 45. Maybe 15 wasn't it. And yeah, I mean, Kuminga, he had some consistency on numbers, but he was more of a G League player than he was for the Warriors. He played a lot of games for him and he has some decent stats, but his true impact, and I get it, we're at a point now where the postseason goes into the view as well. You're not seeing Kuminga on a regular basis. And that's the last thing you're seeing.
True. Any other word on that, Paul?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is these guys on the list were actually relied upon. Like Io had to start games and had to play a lot of minutes because Ball was out. And so Duarte had to start, Giddey started, Bones was not starting, but he was playing a lot of minutes because they were a little depleted this year. And then we already talked about Herbert Jones. So I feel like the biggest thing is these guys were relied upon to produce, whereas Kuminga was just kind of like, oh, he's a young guy. We want to see what he has. We'll play him in some games and see what he has. But it's not like they had to play him to win or anything like that. And so, yeah, I think this list is good.